All right, welcome to Week 7 recap on First and Pod. Andrew Fillipponi alongside Patrick Peterson, and I am in a delightful mood because I just watched my Steelers kick the crap out of the Jets 37-15, and Mike Tomlin's magic wand was on full display. Magic Mike. There was a movie about that. It was guys dancing naked. This was a different version of that. It was Mike Tomlin, who, in my opinion, Patrick Peterson, your coach from last year, he's been in Pittsburgh for almost 20 years, going back to 2007. I honestly believe this was one of his finest moments, and here's why. Since Ben Roethlisberger's left, he's not gotten the quarterback position right very often. They brought Trubisky in, that didn't work. He drafted Kenny Pickett, that didn't work. They juggled quarterbacks when you were on the team last year. They didn't get to their best guy, Mason Rudolph, until it was almost too late when he was there the entire year. And he became the first coach in NFL history, this stat blew my mind, to bench a healthy quarterback with a 4-2 record. That had never happened before. And so this was so controversial. There were boos and there were Fields chants in the first half. And then Beanie Bishop, undrafted corner from West Virginia, makes a spectacular interception over the middle of Aaron Rodgers late in the first half. And that was the igniter for the Steelers all the way around, both defensively, offensively. And Russell Wilson cooked after that. He throws for 260, no turnovers. He unlocks George Pickens. And Pat, if you want to, talk me down here because I feel amazing right now because I feel like my team has got a shot if this is the Russell Wilson we're going to see the rest of the year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers definitely have a shot. Was a little worried when that game first started in the first half, in the first quarter, to be more specific. It started out a little slow, but once Beanie Bishop got the first interception and kind of turned the momentum, like you said, it was kind of the ignite for the offense and for that team. Kind of let Russell get back into what he was used to doing as far as playing offense on the short side of the field. They got in a little bit of a hurry up to get them in the rhythm. And then next thing you know, they started launching the ball down the field. And I believe that was the missing piece to the offense. They just wasn't pushing the ball enough down the field. And that is also the difference between Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, that Russell is not only going to take those chances, but 9 times out of 10, he's going to complete those long balls. He's got the perfect touch, and he's going to give George an opportunity to come down with those 50-50 balls. So if I'm you and the Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I'm feeling pretty good about the way Russell performed. The defense played solid, and Coach Tomlin does it again. And he just has the magic wand or the magic bulb to help him make these decisions. And that's why he's still the Pittsburgh Steelers coach, because he's the guy, the right guy, who's going to make those critical decisions. And he's always seen to make the right moves for his football team. So good stepping stone for Russell Wilson and the Pittsburgh Steelers moving forward.
All right, so that's the Steelers' perspective. I'm on cloud 9, having watched that quarterback decision work out perfectly, and the defense shut down the Jets in the second half. And that gets me to the point about the Jets now, Pat, because no team has ever won the Super Bowl with a losing record through 6 weeks. So they were already fighting an uphill battle at 2-4, but they had all this reason for excitement because of the Adams trade. They scored 15 points and they got shut out in the second half. The Hassan Reddick thing happened before the game too, so they're going to get him back. But I think you were right last week, and I was wrong here. There's just something broken about this team. And they throw the ball way too much. It's completely Aaron Rodgers' team where you've got Breece Hall and you don't use him enough when he's one of the best running backs in the NFL. It's all Aaron Rodgers. It's all on him. Their corners were hurt. I understand that. But it's like even at the end of the game, Chris Collinsworth's talking about how they can just flip a switch here. I don't see it, man. You're shaking your head no too. Like I'm actually, it's hard to cut losses because I've thrown so much money at it, but I'm just going to admit it now. Like, I don't see the Jets making the playoffs, even after the Adams trade and getting Hassan Reddick back. I just don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to carry this team. like I did
Nah,
before the season started.
I just believe it's too many holes. Just too many holes in that team and that organization to be filled right now. Like I said last week, they don't run the ball enough. They don't run the ball efficient enough. Although they did, pop a couple runs in the first half, but they got away from it. Defense was decimated in the back end. Every secondary guy they had dressed out uh, was almost not available throughout this game, and it just I don't know, man. It just seemed like they're missing something. They come out, they play with fire in the first half, but it just seemed like that fire just continued to die down as the game goes on. I don't know if it's the team's wearing on them or the turnovers wearing on the defense or the defense is out there too long. I don't know what it is, but I believe it's just too many holes for this team to try to fill, to try to get themselves out of this hole that they're in, because it's just, like I said, just too many self-inflicted wounds. The penalties this week were down, but still, you got pre-snap penalties, something that should not happen on a consistent basis as they are.
Pat, just the body language from Aaron Rodgers, his mannerisms, it reminded me a lot of Tom Brady's last year with the Bucs, where he was just so visibly frustrated, and he's taking it out on teammates. It's on the bench where he just looks exasperated. And I think part of that too is when you're so used to being the best, and now you're not what you used to be. You might still be good, but you're not the guy you used to be. I think you get more upset when a guy makes a mistake because you can't make up for it the way that you used to.
Right.
And I think it's a difficult thing for guys that are like yourself, first ballot Hall of Famers, who are used to being Hall of Fame caliber every year, when it starts to go the other direction.
Yeah, Father Time is undefeated, and what we was accustomed of seeing Aaron do is escape the pocket, create extra time. He can't get out of his own way right now, and I believe that's something that's slowing him down, because, like you said, we're so used to
look
seeing
how fast
Aaron.
he's getting the ball out. He's never gotten the
I know.
ball out faster, Pat.
Because one, his offensive line is not blocking, and two, he don't have the mobility that he used to.
All right, Chiefs and 49ers. Okay, I must have been smoking something when I came on here Thursday night with you, because I said, hell yeah, the 49ers should be favored in this game.
What did I say?
Forgetting that the Chiefs just always find a way to win these games. It is crazy to me. If you had said to me on our first podcast of the year, we're going to be through 7 weeks of the season, 6 games for the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes has 6 interceptions and 8 touchdowns, I'd say they're effed. I mean, even though I love their defense, there's no way they're in first place. They're probably having a difficult season like they did at the start of last year. Instead, they're the last undefeated team. So it's just absurd. Explain it to the casual football fan like me, Pat, how the 49ers could lose, how the Chiefs could get to be the last undefeated team when Mahomes' numbers just look so pedestrian to this point of the season.
Man, first of all, the Chiefs is the best damn team in football. I've been saying it for a while. It doesn't matter how they need to win the ball game. They're going to win the ball game. They can win the ball game ugly. They can win it close. They can win it big. They can kick a 61-yard field goal. Like, it doesn't matter how it costs to get the victory. They're going to get it. And it starts with Andy Reid. He just does a great job of orchestrating victory each and every week. No, regardless who's in the lineup, like, he's going to put his guys in position, and their defense is just playing lights out, continue to play lights out from dating back to last year's playoff, with holding teams to 15.8 points, 15.8 points a game. And they're continuing that going in the 2024 season on the quest of a three-peat. So I would be shocked as well if we started this podcast and say Patrick Mahomes will be having the year that he's having. But this is such a complete team to where they can pick up each other's slack when it's needed to.
Yeah, and they're so decimated by injury at wide receiver. Pacheco's out too, and so Mahomes gets a little bit of that excuse. He also made plays with his legs in this game that helped them win. The 49ers had injuries, but I can't say that that's the reason why they lost when Kansas City is without so many playmakers. Now, Ayuk might be out for the year with a torn ACL. That's a big blow to them.
Huge blow.
I know Samuel was sick in this game, but the whole thing about Purdy this year was, hey, he looks like he's on his way to big money, and he looked like a guy that was more of a run-of-the-mill quarterback in this game with 3 interceptions, and the one at the red zone near the end of the game was a total costly one. Kyle Shanahan just gets owned by Spagnuolo.
Yeah.
He's 0-4 against him all time. His teams have 10 turnovers in their 4 games. So styles make fights. Some teams match up with others differently. Kyle Shanahan's a great offensive mind, but this is his kryptonite. Not Andy Reid, the defensive coordinator there in Kansas City. So crazy that the Chiefs won by 10 points on the road in San Francisco, and Patrick Mahomes has thrown an interception in every game this year. So I need to stop picking against the Chiefs. The next time I do that on the podcast, reach across from where you are into my screen and just punch me in the face as hard as you can, Pat.
I told you, man, Patrick Mahomes is the new day and age Tom Brady. You cannot it's not a game that he don't have the possibility of winning, but when you make them an underdog, they almost never lose. You can't give.
And I fell for it.
Yeah, you just can't do it. But let's move on to these other young quarterbacks, Texans and the Packers. Packers win by a last-minute field goal. Do you feel better or worse about our Super Bowl preview?
Worse. And I watched that game, and it was exciting. But I honestly, in the score 24-22, doesn't make it sound like it was like a super ugly game. But I came out of the game feeling worse about both quarterbacks. And yes, we just talked about how defense is carrying the Chiefs, but I still think at the end of the day, there's a reason why, if you look at the last 5 Super Bowls, they're won by Mahomes, Brady, and Stafford. The league wants quarterbacks to win. It's quarterback dominated. Stroud was 10 of 21 for 86 yards. That sounds like a first quarter stat line for him. 86 yards. And Love threw 2 more picks. One of them was absolutely brutal in the double coverage. The Packers were -3 in turnover margin and won this game. So I thought the defenses showed up. But, I mean, if you're going to win a Super Bowl, you need your quarterback to play good to great for at least 3 games. And I thought both of these guys struggled when they went up against upper echelon defenses today. So I've got more concerns about Love and Stroud than I did coming into this game, Pat.
Yeah. I won't say I feel worse. The game obviously wasn't what we thought it would be. A lot of turnover. Well, no, I won't say a lot of turnovers. Some costly turnovers by Jordan Love. We look like we're starting to see a trend right now.
You look like Brett Favre. Make a great play, make a bad play.
What you called him last week? He looked like Will Levis. He said he made some Will Levis decisions, mistakes last week. But just too many costly interceptions, which the defense played outstanding today. They played like probably not one of the best defense in the National Football today by shutting down that high-power Houston offense. Joe Mixon got his thing going in the game.
And tried to do the Lambeau leap, and they got pushed out.
Yeah, and I was going to say as well, that is something that really kept them in the game, the running game, and Joe Mixon, what he was able to do in those clutch situations. But I was a little worried about how the quarterbacks played. The defense came out and played outstanding. Thought we would see a little bit more fireworks on the offensive side of the ball, on both sides of the ball, but it did end up panning out.
How are you going to be +3 and lose? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you make Mahomes +3. You make, name another great quarterback, Goff +3. These guys are winning those games. Come on, CJ Stroud. You got to win a game +3 today. I know it's on the road, but come on now.
Yeah, you definitely got to win those games +1. It just seemed like the offense wasn't in sync in the passing game for the most part.
Lions and Vikings. This was another thriller. Last-second field goal by Detroit to move into first place. What did you learn? What was your biggest takeaway from this game, Pat?
Man, Detroit is for real. Going down early in that ball game, 10-0, you thought that the wheels was maybe going to fall off, but the Detroit Lions stuck with their game plan, stuck with the running game, and to loosen up the secondary and let Jared Goff really unleashed some dimes throughout that game, and just their defense. Their defense played much better than they have been. You know, obviously we know losing
Aiden
Adrian,
Hutchinson.
Aiden Hutchinson for the season, but the defense played outstanding. You know, creating some key moment turnovers in that ball game. Branch making a great diving interception to help the Lions keep the momentum, and just overall great game. Like I said, Jared Goff is playing like the league's MVP right now. Was damn near perfect again in this game. Back-to-back statement wins for this Detroit Lions team, and I just think it's just going to be a momentum builder for them moving forward, because now they're not only winning games, they're beating some quality opponents and doing it with style points. Talking about last week against the Dallas Cowboys.
They scored 31 against Flores' defense, and they had trailed for like only a couple minutes the entire year, being undefeated. They were not a fluke team, and they'd beaten good teams like Houston and San Francisco and Green Bay at Lambeau to get to that undefeated record. Goff, I thought, for the first 3 games, took a step back.
Yeah,
he's now like a friggin' Carl Lewis long jump forward here, man. The way he's completely lifted his game. His passer rating the last 3 weeks combined is over 140. We haven't seen quarterbacks do that. I think Kurt Warner might have been the last guy to do it. There's only 2 other guys. One of them Staubach in the 70s. I mean, he has been lights out. They had 4 consecutive drives with touchdowns on the road. You have a lead. You give it back. He then leads them on the drive to kick the field goal to win the game. I always wonder what I wondered with Detroit this year, the way last season ended, the hangover that might be associated with the NFC Championship loss, the doubt that might have crept in. Now you lose Hutchinson. You're playing a first-place team. They've got metal, man. They're a tough-minded team, and I think it starts with their head coach. And their quarterback, who got given up on by the Rams, has gone there and has found, like, he loves that identity, that underdog thing. He's a big fan of that, even as a former number 1 pick who's made a ton of money in this league. So I'm tipping my cap to Goff. I think Goff, smaller hands, doesn't always look good under pressure, but he's been balls to the wall this year, man. I'm very, very, very impressed with him the last month. He is playing like the best quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah, you can't be. I'm not disappointed with that comeback at all, because the numbers don't lie. Numbers do not lie. All right, Panthers, Commanders. Jayden Daniels leaves the game early with a rib injury, but do you still have faith in them that they can survive without him?
So I think his mom said he was fine. That's an interesting source here, that she posted something online that his mom now is coming out and saying, hey, Jayden's good. Props to her.
Yeah.
You know, I got to say, on one hand, I want to just come on here and let you know that any numbers that are accumulated against the Carolina Panthers shouldn't count, because they're the 32nd franchise. They're the worst team in the NFL. But Mariota went in there and played his ass off, man.
He did.
And that's not an easy thing to do, stepping in cold. When the other guy is such an established starter, he's had so many trials and tribulations in his career. And he probably looked at it like, damn, I'm playing against a real leaky defense. I'm going to have the whole game here. You know, I'm not getting benched for performance. The other quarterback behind me can only go in if I get hurt.
Right.
And he balled.
He did.
And so I got to, like, one thing we said on the Thursday episode of this podcast was talking about this matchup. How much of what they're doing is Jayden Daniels driven? How much of it is their system? Well, this is a win for their system today, because the backup went in there and they still scored friggin' 40 points, Pat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. This is definitely a win for the system, because you got a quarterback that fits, a backup quarterback and a starting quarterback that fits your style of play. You got to remember, Mariota came from Oregon, which is kind of like a run and shoot, hurry up offense, get back on the ball, you know, dink and dunk, and then wait for those explosive plays. He's stepping into an offense that he was used to playing in when he was in college. So he's just picking up where he left off as well, and that just goes back to what I was talking about, maybe a couple of weeks ago about these offensive coordinators with creativity and getting coordinators that can really be married with their quarterbacks. This is just a prime example here.
Patriots and Jags over in London today. Jerod Mayo, the Patriots coach, after New England's fell to 1-6, came out and said, "We're a soft football team. This is a soft bunch of players here."
Mm-hmm.
What would your reaction be to those comments if you were on the New England Patriots?
Man. I mean,
calling grown men who play professional football soft.
Honestly, that's a gut check. I mean, and I wasn't able to watch the full game because it was so early.
Well, Pat, I got news for you. You made a great decision.
Yeah, I know I did.
Jaguars. I'm not going to hold. I hope our podcast listeners don't hold you. They don't come down on you too hard that you did not watch 3 hours of Pat's Jags today.
I hope so either, but I did watch the second half, and from the looks of it, just looks like they're not willing enough to make tackles. And when a defensive coach comes out and says that, I mean, for the most part, he's not lying. This is going to come down to the captains really having the guys look themselves in the mirror and really question themselves. Are we still doing it for the love of the game? Are we putting together our best foot forward? So for me as a player, I wouldn't take no offense to it, especially because we watch the same damn tape. Mm-hmm. we all got to be honest with one another. You know what I mean? So if the head coach said that we're soft, it must be true, because most coaches just don't come out and just say any old thing about their team. That was a frustration comment, and it was true, and it probably came out the wrong way. But at the end of the day, he couldn't hold it back anymore, because they're 1-6 now. Now they're on their second quarterback, can't stop anybody. Can't score many points, can't run the football. And where the game is won and lost is at the line of scrimmage. That's what every head coach will tell you, that the game is won and lost at the trenches. And if you can't move the ball or stop the run, 9 times out of 10, you will be considered a soft team.
Well, it's interesting that both coaches that have made comments like this are former players. Antonio Pierce talked about business decisions, and now Mayo says this. Okay, so guys that are kind of cut from the same cloth, that they come from the fraternity of players. So I guess, they can say it and it means more because they've been out there and they know what it looks like, and they, have lived it. They've lived that life. At the same time, though, looking at the Patriots, it to me is inexcusable that the Bill Belichick franchise, the Bill Belichick disciple, you would think the one thing they would do would be play hard. Right. Even if they're the least talented team in the league, that you'd have to get your money's worth. You'd have to button up your chin strap when you played these guys. So that's what would concern me. I mean, if I'm the Kraft family, the thing that matters most to them right now, above anything else, is Drake May's development. They need Drake May to be a good quarterback. And so if he looks good, and he has through 2 games, then everything else around him, I think you can correct and fix. But, if I were Jerod Mayo, I would be praying every night that Drake May looks the part, because if he doesn't, then you're giving your own 2 reasons to fire you very quickly. Your team doesn't play hard, or doesn't put enough effort in, doesn't look like they give a damn, and the guy that you've got the team built around isn't getting it done either. So, yeah, dark times in New England. I can't say that I have a lot of empathy for them after watching them win for 20 consecutive years. So now you feel what it's like to live on the other side of the tracks, Patriots fans.
Yeah, they definitely are on the other side of the tracks. All right, moving on. We got Cincinnati Bengals and the Browns. Deshaun Watson tears his Achilles. Is his career in jeopardy? And also, did you see the clip about when the fans were chanting "You deserve it" as he was getting carted off?
Okay, yeah, I'm so happy you brought that part up, because this has to be the fan reaction. There has to be part of the conversation off this game. So to answer the first question, yes, I think his career is in jeopardy. There's 2 years left on the deal. We know all the money's guaranteed, and that's the other thing about this. that I think makes it very hard. Like, where is going to be the desire, the willpower in Deshaun Watson to rehabilitate himself, to come back at full strength, to look like the quarterback that he was in Houston years ago? Not the guy in Cleveland, not the guy that sat because he was suspended, not the guy that came back and didn't play well, who got hurt last year, who's come back this season and looked like one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. He is the owner's worst nightmare when it comes to that money. They're afraid all the time that you give someone all that money and it changes them. And I think that that's happened here. I'm just going to be honest with you. So I do think as far as him being a starting quarterback, I think that ship may have sailed. Yeah. And to your point about what happened there with the fans, because everybody came out from the Browns and ripped Browns fans about it. Jameis Winston, Greg Newsome, Myles Garrett went up there and said that. You know what? 99% of the time when something like this happens, I think the players are right when fans cheer an injury. It's not cool. It's inappropriate. It's awful. And Michael Irvin got cheered in Philly when he had that horrible neck injury. It was a despicable moment in fan history. Mm-hmm. But when the guy has a checkered off-the-field record and he's played like garbage, I mean, what do you want the fans to do? Cry over it? They're not going to do that. Yeah. You know, like, he's persona non grata there. He's a pariah. In a lot of ways, he's made his own bed. So the "you deserve it" thing, I think, is taking it way too far. But when DTR comes in the game, I can't criticize Browns fans for cheering that, because they don't look at Deshaun Watson, A, as a good football player, and B, they think he's a terrible guy. Pat.
Yeah. Well, with you saying laying all of that on the table, I still don't think it gives the fans to cheer on someone after they just received devastating news that they just received a season-ending injury. Like, I understand that you may have some thoughts or some bad ill or feel some type of way about a player that's on your team, but when a guy goes down off an injury, possibly a career-ending or injury, and you're cheering that you deserve it, no, man.
Just to make sure I hear you right, there's a legit video out there of fans saying you deserve it. You deserve it.
Yes, bro. Yeah. That's not cool.
That's not cool.
Yeah, I don't care how you cut it. Like, that's not cool, especially if you're supporting the team. You may have, like I said, you may feel a certain type of way towards a player, but to cheer somebody when they're down, that's just very classless, man.
Here's the problem, though, is that you have that extreme reaction from fans, and fans are fanatics. Mm-hmm. They're going to act impulsively. They're not going to think with their brain. They're going to think with their heart. And in that moment, they're thinking, this guy who's dragging down our franchise because of how badly he's played and how much money he's paid, this is the one way to get him out of the lineup. Because I'm going to be honest with you about something. I stepped away from the TV for like 10 minutes to help my daughter with something. I came back. I saw number 17 in there instead of watching it. And I thought, oh my God, he got benched. Mm-hmm. And then I rewinded it and watched it happen. Like, I honestly thought he had played badly enough where they finally said, the heck with it, we're pulling the plug. And then I saw him injure his Achilles. So fans are going to think, because the team said we're not going to bench him, they're thinking in that moment, this is the only way we get this guy out of the lineup who keeps us from winning. And they also, in fairness to them, they don't know at that moment that it's season ending, right? Like, is it a gruesome enough injury? Like, if the guy has a neck injury or something like that, all right, well, then that's, shut your mouth and say your prayers for somebody.
But
in
Pony,
that situation.
Tell me this: when they bring the card out,
how
many times you see people come back during that season?
You're right. You're right about that. But the point I was going to make is, when Myles you have to understand the optics of standing up there after the game is over and saying something like, Deshaun Watson has been a model citizen. You cannot.
I didn't hear.
You got to find the middle ground where you're like, guys, it's not cool. We all want to win. He's trying his best. He's hurt. His career flashes before his eyes. You can't act like that in that situation. There's that kind of middle ground on that. But I mean, as far as his career goes, Pat, do you agree with me? Do you think he's going to come back and play well? I mean, this is another long road to recovery from him, and he's had a bunch of setbacks lately.
Yeah, I don't think so. I just think the road is going to be too long. Can he come back and be a quality quarterback? Yeah, but I just think his career is definitely up in jeopardy coming off of the 2 seasons that he's already had. Now he's going to pretty much have to sit out I won't necessarily say an entire season, but these surgeries that they have now and how these guys are able to recover. But for the most part, he's going to miss a lot of football time. And then, when he comes back, he's probably going to be expected to be, thrown in the fire right away. So I think his career is definitely up in jeopardy. It is in jeopardy right now. But I just hate to see him go down this way because we all know that he was, it was an uphill battle for him as far as him getting back where he wants to be performance-wise, and it just never got there. So he's gonna have to do a ton of soul searching when he's able to, get back on his feet and trying to be an NFL quarterback.
Eagles and Giants, speaking of comebacks, Saquon Barkley goes to New York and has arguably his career best game against his old team. Is that a coincidence?
That is not a coincidence at all. Saquon had this game circled on his calendar. I can guarantee it 100%. And I know he made a lot about it's not about going to show the Giants what they missed out on. He's a damn lie. I know he couldn't wait to get back there. I know if he could, he wanted to rush for 300 yards. If he could, he wanted to touch the ball every single time. So but a great performance by Saquon against his former team, and they definitely hate to see him on the other sideline, but also definitely miss him in that New York Giants offense.
So just to, this is one of those things that fans always wonder about. Motivation is a big deal, even in professional sports.
Oh, yeah.
The extra motivation.
100%. Extra motivation is everything, especially when you feel like you gave the team all that you could and you feel like some type of disrespect or a type of slight towards you, going through those negotiations, or you felt like they wasn't upfront with you when you felt like they should have been when you so-called are one of their guys. Yeah, you're going to feel some type of way when you walk back and play that team again. So, and he showed them, rightfully so, with 170 plus yards, 2 tubs, just came out with it on his mind.
He averaged
1 touchdown, not 2.
He averaged 10.4 yards a carry. That's like something that somebody does in a college game. That's not an NFL stat line for someone that goes for $170. I think this all goes back to, as far as the way he feels, I honestly think this all goes back to when the Giants beat the Vikings in the playoffs, and they decided after that, let's give Jones the big money instead of Saquon and just franchise tag him. If they had flipped it and given Barkley a contract and gone year to year with Jones, think about where their franchise would be right now. They'd be in a much better spot.
Yep. And more weapons.
And not only that, I'm sorry, like, they're human beings in that locker room. You don't think that they get annoyed or they get pissed off when the guy that gets paid is like maybe the 25th best person at his job, and the guy who doesn't get paid is the 2nd or 3rd best person at his job?
Yeah.
Even though it's quarterback versus running back. I've just seen it too many times with interpersonal dynamics with football teams, that stuff like that eats at the heart and core of a team. And I just think it has with the Giants. And as a guy that has a lot of family and friends who are still Giants fans, if I were them, I'd say, you know what? Good for Saquon. Seriously. I'm not going to be mad at him. Why would I be mad at him? Be mad at the organization. They got people outside the stadium burning his jersey today. What's wrong with those people? They're like Browns fans with Deshaun Watson. Put those guys and
Right.
fan jail and don't let him out for a year.
I agree. Let's move on to the Tennessee Titans and the Buffalo Bills. Amari Cooper catches his first touchdown today as a Bill. Does this make the Buffalo Bills a Super Bowl contender?
Yeah. He caught a pass on a play where Keon Coleman had to tell him what to do at the line of scrimmage. I don't know if you saw that.
I did see that.
He had no idea what he was doing. It's
I
like
did
he
see
just
that.
threw it up, basically, and he scored. That was his first catch in the game. Josh Allen has gone 3 straight games without a turnover. That's something for him because he usually there'd be a lot more good than bad, but those plays would really still seep into his game. It's 12 touchdowns to 0 interceptions on the season. And now you throw a guy that's a total professional, like we talked about on the Thursday podcast in there. You know, their defense played a great second half against Tennessee. The team in general got off to a slow start and then turned it on in the second half. So, I mean, everybody knows that it's Kansas City in the AFC, even if they're not blowing out teams. And even though Mahomes doesn't have the numbers, they're the team to beat. They're undefeated 6 games in. The last time a Super Bowl winner had done that was, I think, back-to-back Super Bowl winner done that was San Francisco. So, yeah, I mean, I think Buffalo is probably on a list of maybe 4 or 5 teams for me, Pat, that I think are the next tier down from Kansas City. And this is I think a tremendous move by them, and it paid dividends from day one. I think that's important too. Like, you don't want a guy like that taking a long time to either catch his first touchdown or have his first 100-yard game. Get him right involved early so he already feels like he fits in and he's part of the plan there. I think that's important.
Yeah, I love the pickup. We talked about this last week. I thought this was going to be a match made in heaven because this was the missing piece to the Buffalo Bills offense. They needed a guy who can win outside consistently against one-on-one coverage. And now that they found a guy in Amari Cooper, who we all can agree that he's still an exceptional, a good route runner, and he still can catch the football, you know. So, and now he's matched up with one of the better quarterbacks in the league. So I think this is just going to help him flourish that much better, that much more, and also help that Buffalo Bills offense open up a little bit more as well. You may see a little bit more Keon Coleman get some targets. He got a touchdown today.
He had a big game.
Yeah, he had a big game. So I think this overall helped this Buffalo Bills offense tremendously to really help open them up and put more points on the scoreboard.
Seahawks and Falcons, Atlanta throttled at home. I actually put the Super Bowl and the Falcons in the same sentence last week.
And what did I say?
You said you're a moron, but you said it in a much nicer, more polite way than that. Yeah, I need to apologize for that one. That's what the question at the bottom here on our YouTube page says. Look, Kirk Cousins, this is why we say things like the guy is good, but we have to find that sweet spot where we don't go overboard with our praise or analysis of him, because whenever you're ready after 3 great games to get behind him, he has something like this. And the thing that's crazy about this game for me is that they only scored 14 points, but Bijan Robinson went over 100 yards again, and they got the ball to Drake London. So their stars are getting the ball, which was the big complaint last year, and they still only scored 14 points against Seattle. That's a hell of a game by Seattle today on the road to win by 20 and score 34.
Yeah, Seattle looked like the fresher team coming off a bye week, and that they should have. But Seattle just started the game today just on fire. Defense flying around. Jordan Love just pretty much being a menace all over football. The safety. Julian Love, not Jordan. Julian Love. Julian Love being an absolute menace in the back half for the secondary of the Seattle Seahawks, having a couple interceptions, big tackles. Geno Smith he didn't have a big game in the passing game, 207 yards or something like that, but making some really, really costly throws to the running back out of the backfield on a wheel route.
And Kenneth Walker,
Catching
that wheel
yes,
route, he was sick before the game. He had the
yes,
flu. You ever play a game with the flu and play well?
No, I haven't. I never played a game with the flu. He had a Michael Jordan game there today, seemed like.
And it was his birthday.
I was just about to say that, and it was his birthday, so it was just meant to happen for Walker today. But just a great overall performance by the Seattle Seahawks. They definitely took advantage of that bye week and came out, blazing.
And Cousins got cracked in the face on that one touchdown and was bleeding all over the place.
Bleeding out of his nose, had a nose plug in. It just wasn't a good day for the Atlanta Falcons offense.
Well, yeah, that's because I jinxed them. Right when I was saying they were a special team, potentially special, they went out and they got absolutely destroyed at home. Raiders, Rams, Dolphins, Colts. Anything on these two games, Pat?
Dolphins, Colts. Dolphins probably got as many points Dolphins probably has started as many quarterbacks as they have points thus far throughout this season. It's just going to be hard for them to score any points. Anthony Richardson, man, I was just a little skeptical to see the quarterback have. I know that Jonathan Taylor is not wasn't in the lineup today, but I was just highly surprised to see the quarterback, the design quarterback runs, the amount of design quarterback runs that I saw with Anthony Richardson coming back off getting off the injury list with it was a hip injury, right?
That's what I heard diagnosed. I don't know if they called it something else, but when I was there and he got injured, that's what it was. That's what they told me it was.
Okay.
I was at that game. But I don't think they trust him to do more than the quarterback runs. He's not complete. He's completing like 40-something% of his passes.
I know. So
you can't win that way.
You can't win that way. So this is why you give him an opportunity to learn behind a quarterback who can throw the ball. Because that's not going to be a recipe for winning. Like, you cannot score 16 points a game and expect to win, especially when your defense is not an all-world defense.
They've got 4 wins by a total of 17 points.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's not going to cut it. And for the Dolphins, they got good news on Tua today. That's 5 straight games under 15 points. They've scored 3 touchdowns since he left. So he can't get back soon enough, but I already feel like the ship has sailed on their season. Raiders, Rams, largely unwatchable. Kupp did not come back for this game, so they're still waiting on him. And they ended up 20 points off turnovers was why they won that game, and Aiden O'Connell ended up getting knocked out for the Raiders. All right, Pat, great stuff. We'll be back on Thursday, recapping the Thursday night game. We've got Ravens and Bucks and Chargers and Cardinals to look forward to Monday night. Hey, tell your friends, this is what we do every week. We recap the entire slate of games and give you all of our thoughts, and we get the all-pro thoughts from Pat on everything that we watched. Again, subscribe, rate, review. First in Pod, thanks to our producer, Spencer Ray. We'll talk again on Thursday.